Are you in the market for a quality but reasonably priced high-powered binocular, ideal for uses like wildlife observation, long-distance hunting, plane spotting, or perhaps even just watching a boat leaving the harbour? Well, in today's video, I'm going to be reviewing these Athlon Midas 12x50 binoculars, and we're going to start right now. Hello and welcome to Best Binocular Reviews. My name is Jason. In this Athlon Midas 12x50 review, I'm going to be taking a look at these binoculars' main strengths and weaknesses, as well as scoring them out of 10 in the 6 key areas. This means at the end of the review, when we get a total, we can then compare them to the hundreds of other reviews that I have on the BBR website. Before we begin, I just wanted to say that whilst I aim to make this video review as comprehensive as possible, there are many important details, as well as things like comparisons with other similar binoculars and technical explanations that I simply cannot include in the video, otherwise it would just simply go on and on for hours. So the idea is that this review should be used in conjunction with my full review of these Athlon binoculars on the BBR website. Therefore, I highly recommend that you first watch this video review. This will give you a good understanding of the main strengths and weaknesses of these Athlon binoculars, and then click on the link in the description below that will take you through to the full and in-depth review on the BBR website. Also, just a quick word about these scores. In case you were wondering, these are based on all the features and details from my full review and not just the highlights used in this video. Right, with all that said, let's get started. The single bridge body shape is pretty standard for a modern roof prism binocular, and so not too much to expand on here, except to say that the hinge feels very robust, yet opens and closes smoothly enough. What is really impressive is that the chassis is made from magnesium. This is because many direct competitors at this price range will use polycarbonate instead, which is cheaper to make and more lightweight, but nowhere near as strong. The rubber armor covers almost the entire exterior surface on these Athlon Midas binoculars, which is good for protection, grip, and camouflage. The Athlon Midas is tripod adaptable. For some users like hunters, target shooters, wildlife observers, and some birders who operate from a static point like a hide, being able to easily fix their binocular onto a tripod is extremely important. This is especially when it comes to larger, heavier instruments with higher magnifications like this 12x50 Athlon Midas binocular. An important point to note here is, like most binoculars with larger objective lenses, I found that the space between the barrels is smaller than your average 42mm binocular, and so you do need to make sure that the tripod adapter you get has a thin body. Athlon does make their own tripod adapter, which can be purchased separately and works perfectly. But as you can see, thicker body tripod adapters, like this Vanguard one for example, won't fit. The Athlon Midas binocular has twist-up eyecups with 3 click stops, allowing a decent amount of customization. And whilst the 15mm of eye relief is perfectly adequate for most users, I found it a fraction short when testing them whilst wearing glasses. Please remember, if at any time during this video I've used some terminology or described some features that you don't understand, just feel free to ask down in the comment section below. I do talk through them and I'll be sure to get back to you. The alternative is click through to the BBR website. There's tons and tons of information there and pretty much answer to any question that you may have on the subject. The focus wheel is 30mm in diameter and 24mm long, which is pretty standard for this size and class of binocular. I found it easy to reach, and the rubber track with its prominent edges offers a good level of grip. It has a very smooth mechanism, which makes it easy and accurate to adjust, but there is still just enough resistance to prevent unwanted turning. The gearing on the focus mechanism is such that it takes about 1 3/4 turns to alter the focus from the extremes of near to far. This is quite a low gear, as it takes more turning than the average. The advantage of this is that it makes fine-tuning a little easier, but on the flip side, it takes just that little bit longer to make large alterations to your focus. The diopter adjuster on this Athlon Midas binocular is located in the typical spot on the right-hand eyepiece. As you can see, the track has reasonably prominent ridges around the ring, and on my sample it turns fairly easily. When making adjustments, this is obviously great, but you only need to make changes to your setting very rarely, and so whilst it is a very minor issue, I personally would have liked the ring to be a little stiffer, or even better to be lockable to prevent accidental movement. If you're not exactly sure what this diopter does, I've added a link down in the description below. That will take you through to a guide on my website that goes through in detail on how to set up these binoculars to match your particular vision and eyesight. When choosing an instrument like these Athlon Midas binoculars, which have larger than standard 50mm objective lenses like this, you have to accept that you are adding some extra weight and bulk for the advantage of being able to capture more light, which should increase image quality, brightness, and low light capabilities. Comparing them to other 50mm binoculars, these Athlons are quite typical, and whilst both larger and heavier than your standard 42mm binocular, I'm always surprised just how small the difference is. What is interesting is if you look at how these compare against the Steiner HX 15x56 and the Bressa Condor 10x42, you will notice that these make an almost perfect bridge in between the two, and thus offers a nice compromise between the extreme light gathering ability of the larger Steiner 56mm binocular and the convenience of a 42mm instrument like the Bressa. To see exactly how these compare to their competition, don't forget to check out the full review on the BBR website, link in the description below. Before diving into the details on the optical components, coatings and image quality, I first wanted to talk a little bit about the 12x50 configuration and just what this brings to the table. Having a higher 12 times power and larger than normal 50mm objective lenses brings with it a number of advantages, but at the same time also some disadvantages. The advantages of a more powerful magnification include a greater reach and more image detail. However, the disadvantages of this higher power include a reduced field of view, more image shake, reduced low light performance, and generally a less bright image. With their larger 50mm objective lenses, Athlon have been able to counteract some of these light performance issues as they are able to capture more light than smaller ones. The downside is that it makes for a larger and heavier binocular. But as we have already seen, the difference between these and a standard 42mm binocular is not that great, and so I feel that it is well worth it. Here I think it is also very important to point out that these Athlon Midas 12x50 binoculars use a very high level of optical glass and coatings that further counteract the potential brightness issues created by the higher power. Indeed, the level of optics used on these is much the same as which Athlon use on their top-end Ares and Cronus models, and which is why I believe that the Midas is the best value for money range within the Athlon stable. For example, a major highlight on this Midas is the use of dielectric mirror coatings on the prisms. Usually only found on more expensive binoculars, they are able to reflect far more light than the silver coatings used on many other binoculars in this price range. As well as this, they have a fully multi-coated optical pathway, with the result being that despite the higher power, I found that during my testing, they managed to produce an image equally as bright as that of my high-end 10x42 benchmark binocular in both normal and low light conditions. What is more, these binoculars have ED glass elements within the lenses. This glass has extra low dispersion properties and is thus able to better direct the individual wavelengths of light and thus reduce color fringing around the edges of objects in your view. For a higher powered binocular like these, this is really important as you generally see more color fringing on a more magnified image. However, once again, during my testing and comparing of the view between these and my benchmark binoculars, I was impressed by the low level of color fringing that these produce. The Athlon Midas 12x50 binocular comes bundled with the standard arrangement of accessories that includes a carry case, neck strap, lens covers, cleaning cloth, and instruction manual. Whilst all perfectly functional and not out of place in this price range, I have to say that the level of the accessories does not quite match that of the very high standard set by the rest of the instrument. However, to be fair to Athlon, the level of the optics in particular is so high at this price point, I am sure that they had to make some sacrifices in order to keep the overall costs down. And personally, I am glad they chose the accessories and not something that affects the actual performance of the instrument. Well, there you have it. I do hope that this mini review has been of both use and of interest to you. As I said at the start of the video, for a more complete review, please do check out the link in the description below, which will take you through to the BBR website. Also, if you did enjoy this video, please don't forget to like and share, and be sure to hit the subscribe button. This is something that really helps both me and my channel to continue to bring you more and more reviews, as well as improve in the future. So thank you very much for your time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Cheers for now.